So here we have a wonderful work by Barry Cook, and it's called Romantic Elk, and it's oil on board. And this was actually has come from the collection of the late Patrick Pye, the great artist, and it obviously depicts one of the great prehistoric elks that roamed Ireland many millennia ago. We have an estimate of 3,000 to 5,000 on that. Below it is a work by perhaps one of Ireland's best known and loved living Irish artists, and that's Camille Souter. And this is called Callery Bog in Winter Mist. And Callery Bog is an area near where she lived in County Wicklow back in the 60s. That has an estimate of 7,000 to 10,000. So in this corner we've got two lovely works by Letitia Hamilton. The first one is the 12 pins in Connemara, a scene from Roundstone. And again, very typical treatment using a palette knife, so a lot of paint is used and it's applied using this very flexible knife. And again, it was something that she, it was a technique that she used for most of her paintings. And below it is a work from West Cork, and it's entitled On the Road to Skibbereen. And again, it's painted in oils using a palette knife. Both those pictures have an estimate of 3,000 to 5,000. Above here we've got a work by Cecil McGuire, who died this summer, unfortunately. And again, a very highly regarded painter, and it's called Oats at Moonlight, and it's estimated at €2,000, painted in 1981. Again, he captures the reflection of the boats on the water with the moonlight really well. It's a fabulous picture. Below it is a painting by Maurice McGonigal, and it's called Clogher Harbour, and that's up in County Louth. Again, it's a sort of mid-period work. Again, wonderful colours and a beautiful composition. That is estimated at 2,500 to 3,500. Below it is a lovely little work by Father Jack P. Hanlon, and it's of the Mall in Westport. So this large painting here is by Harry Kernoff, and it's called The Canal, Wilton Place, Dublin. And this, as a lot of you will be familiar with, is the area on the canal where the poet Patrick Kavanagh used to sit. And in fact, nowadays there's a bench with a bronze figure representing Patrick Kavanagh. And who knows, this could even be Patrick Kavanagh. This particular guy is reading a newspaper. And what's lovely is that this wonderful perspective that Kernoff gets, you know, with the distance running off into the distance, and this lovely little vignette of this very smartly dressed lady walking along the path, and this child here, and the dog. There's also the swan on the canal. All this area has changed so dramatically in recent times. You know, the big development there at Wilton Place, which is in progress as we speak. Estimate on that of 15,000 to 25,000. And below it is a lovely abstract work by Elizabeth Rivers. Again, an estimate of 2,000 to 3,000 euro on that. Very highly regarded modernist painter. So this work by Tony OMalley, and it's an oil on board. And what's interesting about this is entitled the Windhover, and it's from 1985, and it's done in this very typical technique of OMalley's, where he uses the smooth side of a piece of wallboard and incisors it, or cuts into it with presumably with a Stanley knife or some sort of knife, so that you can see, and you can obviously, if you dare touch it, you can feel the cuts and the incisions in the wallboard, and then it's painted, and he uses those scores as the sort of the foundations for his painting. And again, this is as I say, it's entitled The Windover, which is a bird of prey, and it indicates the artist's admiration for nature and also for his search for expression, freedom of expression and physical freedom. Again, the sort of work that people really love by OMalley, these wonderful vibrant colours and a great sense of movement. And the estimate on that is 25 to 35,000. So one of the pictures that I love most in this particular sale is this painting by Walter Frederick Osborne, painted in 1888, and it's called The Loiterers. And it's painted in a small village in Oxfordshire called Uffington. And this was painted at a time when he was painting in areas around Oxfordshire and Berkshire and Hampshire. And some of his best work was painted at that particular time. But it's got this wonderful sort of sense of, you know, where we've stumbled upon this scene of, we've got the boy with the dog on the lead, and the woman is talking to the man on the horse. But interestingly, the wonderful thing about social media is that a resident of that village saw a post about this particular picture coming up for auction, and she sent us a photograph of that exact location as it is today, and it's remarkably similar, except that the owners of this particular house have built a garage, which you can see at the front. But again, what's interesting about this particular area, this area of Uffington, is that this mountain here has the White Horse, which some of you may be familiar with, and it's an image of a white horse which is carved into the mountain. And because it's a chalk mountain, it looks like a white horse, and it's quite spectacular. So the estimate on Walter Osborne's Loiterers is 40 to 60,000 euro. So Sleep Beside Falling Water is an important painting by Jack Cutler Yates, painted in 1946. It's an oil on canvas, and beautiful painting. And as you can see here, there's a figure, this rather languid figure, this hatted figure, who is lying on the grass, having a little snooze, and to his right is the falling water, this waterfall. And Hilary Pyle, in her notes about the painting, which were published in the catalogue Raisonné, she relates this landscape to the area between Sligo and Leitrim. So you can see that there's quite a lot of this sort of hilly, mountainous landscape here, which form a backdrop to the seated figure. In many ways, the energy of the falling water here contrasts with the sleeping figure, and it's almost dreamlike in its treatment. The estimate on this picture is 150 to 200,000 euro. This work by Colin Middleton, and again it's painted on canvas, and it's entitled Snow. It was painted in 1954, and we believe that given the period when it was painted in the decade after the Second World War, that this sort of somewhat haunting image relates to the wandering refugees from the post-war period. Again, very strong imagery which Colin Middleton was not afraid to address. These sort of post-war issues, which he has done so remarkably well in this particular painting. The estimate on this is 20 to 30,000. Next picture along the way, again very much part of the modernist movement, is an oil by Mary Swansea, and it is called Cat in the Suburbs. And this, interestingly enough, when you look at it closely, you can see the texture, and it's painted on the textured side of a piece of wallboard. And we talked about earlier about Tony OMalley painting on the smooth side of wallboard. A lot of artists love this particular material because it's incredibly hardy, but it also gives you that option to have a very smooth surface or this somewhat pitted one. So again, we have this image, and in fact the cat has appeared in quite a number of Mary Swansea's paintings. But you can see here that this is obviously very much a domestic cat. It's got this lovely pink collar and it's got its little brass bell, but it's enjoying a sort of a nice restful sleep on the top of this pillar. And again, it has this lovely sense of, you know, it's obviously in the suburbs, as she says, but there's this lovely sort of treatment, this cubist treatment of the nearby town. The estimate on that is 8,000 to 12,000 euro. Okay, so in this corner we have in the top left this beautiful work by Beatrice Lady Glenavy, and it's an oil painting and very much in her typical style. There's a playfulness about her treatment of this subject, of this little family. It's called The Country Seat. And you've got the, it's almost like a picnic scene where you've got this playful white whippet and the small child with her parents seated on the bench underneath this thatched pergola. But on top of it, you'll see here these little birds, and again it gives this lovely joyful, happy sense. Fabulous treatment of the sky with these lovely puffy little clouds going on, a very uniformed treatment. The estimate on that is only 3,000 to 5,000 euro. So we've got three works by Daniel ONeill here in this corner, and this first one is called Moonlight, and again it captures that early stage of the day. And Daniel ONeill was a master at creating a mood and an atmosphere. And you can see this sort of treatment of the way he works the paint over the distant mountains. It's almost like as if they're covered in a light dusting of snow. But again, the colours, the richness of the colours make this a really special picture. So the estimate on Moonlight is 6,000 to 8,000 euro. Again, beautifully framed as well. It's very smart, good frame. It contrasts quite considerably with this picture called Landscape with Rocks from the early 1950s, which has a much darker, in every sense, mood to it. And again, it's incredibly atmospheric, again, beautifully painted. And the estimate on that is 4,000 to 6,000. And below it is a beautiful portrait entitled Flora. And it shows the influence that the Italian primitive painters had on Dan ONeill. And in many ways, this figure of Flora, which is thought to derive from portraits that Dan ONeill made of his first wife Eileen, that she has this somewhat dark-eyed Italianate face, but again it's covered, or it's surrounded by this lovely treatment of the flowers which frame the portrait, and again exquisitely painted. The estimate on Flora is 8,000 to 12,000 euro. Right, so this auction will take place on Wednesday the 9th of December at 6 p.m. The viewing starts on Friday the 4th of December and goes through the weekend, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. You can also view the sale on our website www.adams.ie. We will have the flip catalogue and the list catalogue, as well as our 360 video, which will mean that you will be able to view the sale from the comfort of your home or office or wherever, remotely on your tablet or on your mobile phone or computer, where you can see everything in the sale. At the same time as this auction is going to be on view, we're also going to have our fine jewellery and watches auction, and that auction takes place on Tuesday the 8th of December, the night before the Irish Night Sale, and that will start at 4 p.m. So there's plenty to enjoy in Adams over the course of the first couple of weeks in December, so I hope you'll join us.